So we have with us Mr. Sean McCarthy, former chair of the Commission for a Sustainable London 2012. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us why and how the Commission was established, whose initiative it was, and what were the main missions?
Okay, the Commission was actually part of the bid. So there was an offer in the bid to deliver the most sustainable games ever. But recognising that in sustainability quite often many things are promised but very few things are delivered, there was an offer to establish an independent commission to provide assurance over that sustainability. So it was only one line in the bid, but a very important line, and then the challenge was really to establish the commission and to build the relationships from there.
So whose initiative was it?
The initiative was from the people, a very small number of people that conceived the bid in the first place in 2003. And there was a recognition in 2003 that environmental issues are likely to be a much bigger issue in 2012. So therefore the sustainability theme was something that was always there right from the very beginning, and a growing recognition that there would need to be some assurance. So it was the bid team, the original bid team, that actually conceived the idea of an Olympics for London that invented the commission. I just made it happen.
So it was supported by governmental people and the Olympic associations and stuff? Yeah,
there was good political support for the sustainability theme, because the whole purpose of the Olympics for London, to quote Mayor Ken Livingstone at the time, was it's a regeneration project interrupted by 6 weeks of sport. So the objective was all about trying to act as a catalyst for regeneration in East London, which is a very poor part of London. And that has been a great success. So the whole theme of sustainable development and regeneration and an attempt to overcome some of the poverty and crime issues in East London was very strongly supported politically. When the Commission was first established, it was viewed with a degree of suspicion by everybody. The officers responsible for the Games didn't necessarily want an organisation with that much power. The NGOs thought maybe it was just an extra layer of bureaucracy to stop them getting at the truth. So there was a need to really build relationships and to build trust and confidence, certainly in the first year of the Commission's life, and to produce the first report that was constructive and balanced and seen by the NGOs to be sufficiently tough to be challenging, but seen by the delivery bodies to be sufficiently constructive, not to just be yet another campaigning NGO report.
Thank you. When you speak about sustainability, it's a very broad word, and so some people may not have good idea, may not understand what exactly you mean by sustainability. Can you tell us some examples, like specific targets of sustainability that you had?
Yeah, the Olympic delivery bodies worked very well together to develop a sustainability plan within the first year after the bid was won, and that was a great benefit. So they actually established sustainability under 5 key themes and then 10 headline objectives. So we had things like the Olympic venues had to be 15% better energy efficiency than the building regulations, 25% recycled content, 95% waste diverted from landfill during the Games, during construction, 0 waste to landfill during the Games. But then there were also social and economic objectives, like 25% of the employees on the Olympic venues would be local. There were objectives related to people that had previously been in unemployment. There were objectives related to local procurement and using local small businesses as well. So it was very much a holistic effort. It was all about social, economic, environmental sustainability coming together and addressing everything to do with the Olympics, everything from the food and the catering to the temporary venues, the facilities, the permanent venues, and the people that worked on the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And how did your commission contribute to assuring such targets?
Okay, the way that we worked, I had a staff of only 3 people, and it was half of my time. It was a part-time role for me, and I had 12 volunteer commissioners who all gave 10 to 20 days a year of their time and their expert advice. So the way that we operated is that we would deliver an annual review of all aspects of sustainability across all delivery bodies, which I would conduct personally and write the report and present the report to the Olympic Board, which was a group comprising the senior political leadership. And then my team would continually look at what we called thematic reviews in more depth. So they would look at carbon emissions, they'd look at waste, employment and skills, transport, procurement, various other thematic subjects. Out of that, we would make recommendations and we would follow up all of those recommendations. There was something in the order of 250 recommendations over the life of the Commission, and we followed up every single one, and there was a recommendations tracker on the website. So we were reporting very openly in public and providing advice and guidance throughout. A lot of the work that we did was not necessarily seen in public because we would attempt to resolve issues as we found them with the delivery bodies. And then we'd be able to report that everything is okay once the issue has been resolved. So some of the recommendations may well have been issues that weren't resolved at the time, and we needed a slightly stronger influencing to make some of those things happen. Ultimately, because I reported directly to the Mayor and the Secretary of State, I could go to them if there was an issue that was of sufficient concern, but I only did that twice in the life of the Commission.
And people often talk about the legacy of London Olympics, and you also said during today's symposium that without legacies, sustainable Olympics are not really sustainable. So can you talk a little bit more about the legacies of London?
Yeah, the whole philosophy of the Commission was there's no such thing as a sustainable Olympics. It does not exist. You can't use all of those facilities, have people travel from all over the world, use all of those resources to watch a few people running around is not a sustainable thing to do. So therefore, we would only consider the London Olympics to be sustainable if it was more influential in wider society. So for me, legacy is about several things. It's about, first of all, the legacy of the Olympic venues and the Olympic Park. And that's been a fantastic success. All of the permanent venues are in use. There's very strong evidence to show that the economy of East London is growing, and that some of the issues related to poverty are starting to subside, although it's still work in progress. There is still much to be done. So East London now has become a destination and a place where people prefer to come and live and to work, whereas historically it's been a stopping off point for immigrants. Our economy has relied on immigration for the last 200 years, and people would come to East London, and frankly most of them would just have an ambition to make enough money to leave and go and live somewhere else. So the fact that we now have great transport infrastructure, some good homes, some high quality jobs in the technology sector in particular, and very good transport links means that we have a legacy of a community in East London. But legacy is more than that. It's about a legacy of knowledge. So I was very determined that the Olympic delivery bodies would share what they've learned before they finished and went off to other jobs. So we have the London 2012 Learning Legacy website with literally hundreds of case studies, tools, examples, academic papers, reports. So there's a whole range of things that the world can learn from. I also wanted a legacy for the Commission. So the Commission's website is now being hosted by a university, by Royal Holloway University in the UK. So that's available to everybody, so you can see the independent story of the Commission. We even have a video about the Commission that we've subtitled into Japanese. So I think there's something about the legacy of good practice in sustainability in various sectors, which we've seen in construction, in event management, in catering. There's something about the legacy of a new sustainable community in East London, and there's something about a legacy of knowledge.
it would be great to have sustainable Tokyo Olympic as well, but some people are concerned that sustainability may cost too much. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, of course it shouldn't cost too much. It's absolutely necessary to be very challenging with those organisations delivering the games, and this is mostly suppliers and sponsors. And I think what Tokyo needs to do is to set out a very clear plan and some very clear targets and say, if you want to come and play in this Olympic Games, these are the ground rules that you need to comply with. And we don't expect it to cost more. So you need to expect your supply chain to compete and to innovate to come up with sustainable solutions. And that was quite successful in London. So Tokyo has a great opportunity to show off its innovation. But I think it also has an obligation. You get an Olympics for 7 years and it's a privilege. And Tokyo is the next developed country to have an Olympics. It's one of the richest countries in the world. It's one of the most technologically developed countries in the world. So I think Tokyo absolutely has an obligation to deliver a sustainable games. I don't think it's a choice.
And also, I think London had some examples of delivering sustainability without costing too much, for example, about the frame.
Yeah, there were many examples. I think the best one is the velodrome on the Olympic Park, which I love. It's a beautiful building, it's fantastic. That building initially was £40 million over budget. So the designers were told to go away and design it again to come up with a solution that was within budget. And then, frankly, typical of some of the resources we use, the immediate response was, well, if you want one within budget, you'll have to relax the sustainability requirements. This is at the point where leadership becomes very important. And David Higgins was the chief executive of the ODA at the time, and his response was an absolute emphatic no. You knew the standards, you have the contract, you know what the budget is, now go deliver a velodrome to the standards that we asked for in the first place and within the budget that we asked for in the first place. That required a complete redesign of the building. They designed a building with a cable net supported roof and not a steel roof, which had been done only once before in South Africa at the time. That meant a building with far less materials. The velodrome in Beijing has half the mass of materials of the velodrome in London has half the mass of materials of the velodrome in Beijing. It was delivered, the target was 15% better energy efficiency than the regulations. The velodrome delivered 37% better energy efficiency. How did they do that? Well, by taking a lot of energy consuming air conditioning equipment out of the design. Because when you have a velodrome for competition, you need to have very specific temperature controls for the athletes. But that's not all the time. So why not bring in temporary air conditioning for competition and have the building naturally ventilated the rest of the time? That's cheaper, it's more sustainable, it's more energy efficient. And really make those resources think about how to do things. The recycled material content was also significantly better than the target, and it's a fantastic building. I love it.
That's great. Do you have any suggestions regarding Tokyo Olympics and renewable energy or energy management?
Yeah, energy management and renewable energy is something that London didn't do particularly well. The energy management during the Games was not very good. The plan was developed too late, and the resources responsible for energy management during the Games were recruited too late. There was some great energy infrastructure. There was trigeneration, combined heat and power, district heating system. The whole system was designed for legacy, so it's 5 times redundant. So within the energy centre, there are 5 engine bays, but there's only 1 engine at the moment, and the infrastructure is all designed for 5 times the capacity. So as new buildings come on stream, the infrastructure is able to cope with it. But they didn't go the extra mile for me with maybe looking at waste to energy, maybe looking at anaerobic digestion. I think if you start to think about Tokyo and the issues of renewable energy, London will be 8 years old by the time Tokyo delivers the Games. Technology would have moved on, and public opinion would have moved on. So I think there's an opportunity for Japan to really look at the technology. I know hydrogen is being spoken about as a technology here that could well work. I've heard lots of debates today about how hot it's going to be during the Olympics, that it could be 35, 40 degrees. Well, that kind of suggests to me that solar photovoltaics might work as well. So I think there are opportunities, if the opportunity is taken now, to look at both the permanent facilities and also the temporary facilities. We must remember that there will always be backup generation for an Olympics, and that needs to be delivered in a sustainable way as well. In London we had diesel engines, lots of them. In Tokyo you have the opportunity maybe to have fuel cells and to really move the technology on and to make a step change in the way that we deliver renewable energy.
And so the Tokyo Olympics is coming in 5 years and time is running out. What are your suggestions for Tokyo to do now in order to go beyond London?
Yeah, have a plan now. I think if you look at London, had a good plan within the first year. So Tokyo is already behind that time. And only if we have a very, very clear plan with clear objectives can decisions be influenced. So there will be decisions taken now that aren't necessarily in the best interest of sustainability. So for me, I think it's necessary to have a plan very quickly. I think today's symposium may have been a wake-up call for people to understand that is required. I think there will be great benefit in some form of independent assurance as well, such as the assurance that we had in London. But I think it's very, very important for Tokyo to act now. If you leave it 6 months, it will be too late.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCarthy.